Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Art of Tarot. I am so glad that you've come this far on your journey. And today we're going to be looking at idioms. So, idioms are ways of expressing an idea without using the direct words. So, for instance, if somebody says to you, I'm being kicked out by my landlord. It's like, oh, you're being left out in the cold. Like you're literally, maybe not literally being left out in the cold, but it's like you're being left out in the cold, without resources, without help. And that card would be the Five of Pentacles. So what you can do today is look through your deck and see if there are different idioms that come up for you. They don't have to be popular idioms. They don't have to be idioms that you can easily Google and see if they're actually validated by other people. They can be things that express ideas by not directly saying what it is. So we're going to go through it right now as a quick exercise. And we can just quickly scan through the cards. I'm using the Rider-Waite-Smith version today. And we can just kind of go through some of the idioms. We can also make some ourselves. So like this one, the first impression that you get, being stabbed in all directions. This could also be the being stabbed in the back card that people usually reference to a betrayal, right? Like your friend stabbed you in the back, or so-and-so stabbed you in the back. So there's a good stab in your back idiom. This card, when I see this card, I think of hoarding. I think of somebody just like being so afraid of losing their possessions that they're just hoarding them. So that in itself is also an idiom, more of a metaphor, but also this idea of expressing and conveying meaning without using direct language. That's also what I'm going with the idiom exercise today. But if metaphors come up for you, that's fine as well. All right. This card, for instance, taking a much needed rest, right? There's an idiom. So the Four of Swords. This person isn't in any kind of trouble. This isn't a coffin. This is them just taking some very much needed rest. All right. So you kind of see where I'm going with it. Here we go. Here's another idiom, sleepless nights, right? You're having sleepless nights. So usually when somebody says sleepless nights, they may not literally mean that you're having sleepless nights. It just means that something is on your mind that's really worrying you and causing you a lot of distress. You may actually sleep soundly through the night and not wake up, but the idiom expresses that there's something on your mind that's keeping you awake, right? There we go. There's another idiom. Let's see. Some come up a little bit easier than others. Here's a nice one. Watching your money tree grow. That's exactly what's happening here. This person is literally watching their money tree grow. They've planted their seeds, and they've had an idea of what they want to manifest. So in the Seven of Pentacles, you can see this person, watching their money tree, watching it grow. And then in the Nine of Pentacles, the person's now celebrating what they've created. So celebrating the money tree. The money tree has now come to harvest. Okay, here's an interesting one. This one has a lot of, obviously it's overloaded with meaning, but when I look at it, I think, it's like the universe stepping in because you can't make those changes. So the universe sweeps in this earthquake of changes for you. So an idiom that you could come up with the Tower card would be, the universe stepping in. So the universe stepping in and making a decision for you. Okay, here's another idiom with the Seven of Swords. Trying to get away with something. When you've heard that expression, you're trying to get away with something. Literally, he's here in this card getting away with the swords. He's packing up the swords and getting away, and he's looking back. He knows he's doing something wrong because he's looking back behind his shoulder to make sure nobody's watching him and nobody's coming after him. So this would be a great idiom for trying to get away with something. Here's another popular one, even though this is more of a metaphor. You see this card as a reader, and there's three people in this card. They're all celebrating. They might just be celebrating together, but it could also be a third-party situation, right? A love triangle. So yes, more of a metaphor, but you get the drift. You can actually go back and forth with this exercise with idioms and metaphors, and that's totally fine with me. Okay, let's just go through it really quickly, see what else comes up. I also gave you a few examples. So here's the one I was telling you about in the beginning, the Five of Pentacles, being left out in the cold, right? You may not literally be left out in the cold, but it's a situation to describe that someone is, leaving you out without proper resources. Okay. Here's another one. This one's really interesting as well. The Ten of Wands. This person just wondering if they should stake their claim, right? Should I put this last fence pole down, right? Should I stake my claim? Should I stay here? Should I go? So that's a good idiom. Here's a nice one too, Four of Cups. An offer that you're not really too excited about, right? So is this the offer that you can't refuse, or is this the offer that you think, there could be better offers out there for you? So the idiom would be, there are better offers out there. All right. This is just a really nice visual card, right? You think of like being juggling two choices. So that's also, the idiom and also the metaphor, because you get a really strong visual with this card, right? You're balancing two choices, whether those choices are real or perceived, right? With this one, I think of the night, the dark night of the soul with this one. How sometimes you have to go in to really discover the truth and to find inner meaning. So with this card, I always think the dark night of the soul. So you get the idea. Just go through the card and look at the different cards. Look at the first impression of the visuals that come up. Whether it's an idiom or a metaphor, it's fine. I also gave you some examples in the class today. There's the Three of Swords, being stabbed. This is another being stabbed in the back. This is also related to that Three of Cups. It can be the love triangle. So, it's like third party situation. Nobody wins here. Everybody gets hurt. With this one, I think of the idiom being stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because there's two swords here. They're very sharp and heavy swords, and the person's blindfolded, so they feel like they just can't even make a decision. Like, this decision isn't an easy one to make for them, right? Being stuck between a rock and a hard place. All right, so I hope, here, our last idiom, which is actually one of my favorite idioms, crying over spilled milk, right? Crying over spilled milk. This person's not noticing that there's still two cups standing behind them. They're just focusing on the ones that are down, right? So crying over spilled milk, the situation isn't as dire as it seems. I hope that answers your exercise for today, and I look forward to the rest of our journey together. You're doing so great. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done so far, and I will see you tomorrow.